Yeah, good morning. So we have a short chapter, but very dramatic one. The story of Nov Ir HaKohanim. Um, the story starts this chapter and it ends in the next chapter with a big tragedy. But let's see step by step. So David, in the last chapter, became formally, how do you say that in English? Fugitive, someone that is running away. Fugitive. He became a formal fugitive. Now everything is clear. Shaul formally wants to kill him. Jonathan cannot protect him anymore, and he understands he must go. That's how the chapter starts, saying David then went his way. Vayakom vayelach. Where? It doesn't say where. In the first verse. In the next verse, it's going to say. It's a little bit remind me the verse of Esav after eating the food of Yaakov when he sold the Bechorah, the right of the firstborn. It says, Vayakom vayelach, vayochal vayesh, vayakom vayelach, vayivez Esav et Abchorah. That he ate and drank and got up and went away. Where it doesn't say, meaning I'm not here anymore. I don't care what's going on anymore. I'm just away. So that's it. Vayakom vayelach. I finished my story in the palace for now. I must find myself in another place. And Jonathan returned to the town. As we said, even though Jonathan was in the side of David, he couldn't abandon his father. We mentioned three main reasons. Maybe he wanted to protect his father, to help him in this bad situation, mental situation.
Or you want to be king after him?
Maybe that's the second option, which is I think that it's less probable because we saw that he was dedicated to it. But we can say that he wasn't so decisive, he doesn't decide formally to abandon the aspiration to be king. So he stayed with his father. And the third explanation, which also makes sense to me, that he wanted to be as helpful as he can where he can be helpful. So he won't be helpful with David in the desert, in the wilderness. He will be helpful to David. Maybe he can help in some way, or to moderate his father, or in other ways, he can be a little bit more effective inside the palace. So Jonathan returned to the town. So David went to the priest Avimelech at Nov. Where is Nov? Today there is a moshab called Nov in Ramat HaGolan, in the Golan Heights. But it's not this Nov. This Nov is apparently in Shuafat, north of Jerusalem. So the house of Shaul, Giv'ah, the capital town in this time, was like 3 or 4 kilometers from Jerusalem to the north. So Nov is between Jerusalem and Giv'ah, so not very far away. What is Nov? What is the purpose of this place? It says El Achimelech HaKohen. Achimelech apparently is a grandson of the grandson of Eli from the beginning of the book. He was a high priest in this time. So why David is going there? So you say maybe in the beginning he just left, he didn't know where to go, and then he decided to go to Nov. First of all, apparently there he can achieve some supply, can get some supply. We will see that later. Also, maybe he is a little bit more protected in the city of the Kohanim. That's at least what he saw. The same as we saw last time, he went to Shaul in Ramah, to Shmuel. When he ran away from Shaul, he went to Shmuel in Ramah, Noyot beRamah. Why? Because like the religious space is a protected space. We saw a little bit like that, something similar 2 Shabbatot ago, Parashat Vayechi. While everybody had to sell their lands to the king, the priests of the king of Egypt were protected. They didn't have to sell.
That was the Shah in Iran. Make mistake. He tried to sell the lands of the religious people in common. It's the religious city, and then they start the revolution.
Okay.
That's why it is.
You are talking about 79.
Yeah.
Yeah, not now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the religious space is a protected space. We will see that also later in the beginning of Hashem, beginning of Sefer Melachim, when someone tried to run away from the king, there is a term that says le'echoz bekarnot hamizbeach, to hold the corners of the mizbeach. Why? Because when you are holding the corners of the mizbeach, you are protected. Nobody can touch you. And there is verse in the Torah, Me'im mizbechi tikachenu lamut. The Torah says, don't you think that you will go to the altar and hold the altar and you will protect it. Even from the altar you will take, this crime is so severe, you will take the criminal even from the altar. Chachamim said, even if he's a Kohen that doing the worship in Beit HaMikdash, if he required to the death panel, you will take him in even from the middle of his bow. But so the fact that the Torah mentioned it show that was a practice, right? People used to go to the religious space as a protected space, like going into the shul, so the police will take you from there because they won't feel comfortable, or from inside the mosque or something like that. So it's a protected space. So maybe David went there as a protected space and also as a place to look for supply, or maybe simply because it was the closest. It's the first station in his way. He has to run for his life. He has to go away from the place of the power of the king, the strength of the king. So he has to go and he start walking, and this is the first place that he arrived. So he arrived to Achimelech, the priest Achimelech. He calls HaKohen because he was a high priest, to know. So Achimelech came out in alarm to meet David. And he said to him, why are you alone? Not a soul in with you. So why is the alarm? What does it mean, the alarm? So David is known, like we'll see later, is known as one of the most powerful people in the kingdom. He is responsible on the army. Second, he is married to the king. His wife is a daughter of the king. So people in this level usually do not go alone. They go with some people that escort them, that keeping them, guard, head guards, etc. And David is coming alone suddenly. Apart from that, we will see later that apparently it was Shabbat. So David is arriving in the middle of Shabbat. Some say it was Friday, some say it was Shabbat afternoon, in the evening, Motzei Shabbat. It makes more sense. That's what Chachamim say it was in the middle of Shabbat. So nobody is walking in the middle of Shabbat. It's not even allowed. And the minister of the war, the way they are called today, the minister of defense, is going is going alone without anyone escorting him in the middle of Shabbat, arriving to the city of the Kohanim. What's going on here? Something really strange. I saw some interpretations that I don't agree with, that the conflict between David and Shaul was already known. So Achimelech also suspected here. What's going on here? Why? I know that there's something between the king and David, so what's going on here? I don't think so, because it doesn't look from the conversation later that Achimelech knew anything at all. And it also, I don't think that anybody outside of the palace knew about it. It says that Shaul spoke with the close people, with the cabinet. He didn't make that public in the newspaper that he's going to kill David. So I don't think it was known outside the palace. So Achimelech is alarmed, is worried. What are you doing here? Why are you here alone? So the emphasis is on alone. Okay, our person like you going alone. So David answers the priest Achimelech, the king has ordered me on a mission. What is a mission? Go kill yourself. No, a secret mission. Yeah, so that's what he says. He told me in a secret mission. We'll see that. And he said to me, absolutely no one must know anything about the mission on which I am sending you, and for which I have given you orders. So this is a blunt lie. Was it allowed to lie? There is lie? Yes, there is a moral question here. By lying, you are also risking Achimelech. I will also already do you the spoiler, make you the spoiler of the next chapter. What's happened as a result of that? Shaul killed all the city. was quite
The old
cruel.
time was,
This, like I said, is a tragic event, and the consequence of this event will also continue to influence in the next chapters, in the next books, even in the Bible.
אתה כנביא זכריה עם בית שני. תתקיל, and after...
What?
הנביא זכריה.
הנביא זכריה, well...
It's the same.
Yeah.
Scene that effect later.
Okay, yeah, in that context, yeah. So this problem, so David decided here to lie. We can understand why. He's running for his life, and by lying, by some way, he's also protecting Achimelech. Because if after that Shaul will come to Achimelech, why did you help David? Like, what happened? He can say, I didn't know anything. Well, he was. Well, we will see the conversation between Achimelech and Shaul in the next chapter. But by lying, he's saving him in some way. The same way like was with Michal, even though there she decided to lie. She said, he threatened me. I didn't have any other option. So here also David gave him the pretext to explain why he is helping him. So he says to him, the king sent me in the mission, and gave me orders. Nobody should know about it. So I have directed my young men to such and such a place. I'm not even telling you what place I sent them. So I sent my people to some way, and I cannot tell you where. I cannot tell you what is the mission. It's a secret mission. I must now need help. Now then, what have you got on your hand? Any loaves of bread? Let me have them, or whatever it is available. So here's a translation doing bad work. Let me try to translate myself, and says, now then, what have you got on hand? 5 bread, 5 pieces of breads. Please give it to me, or whatever you have. Now it looks strange. Why 5? ואתה, מה יש תחת ידיך? 5 לחם. What do you have? 5 specific bread from this mark, and what do you mean 5?
Maybe he knew that the Kohanim get a food, specific food. So.
Yeah, that's right. That we're going to see. But why 5? So there are 2 ways to understand this verse. Maybe that the Tanakh doesn't mention who is the speaker in each case. So I guess it's like asking, what do you have in your hand? That David asked to eat. And the Kohen is answering, I have 5 bread. And then Shaul say, give it to me, or whatever you can give me. So according to that, the 5 bread is the answer of Avimelech. And this, by taking away the names of the speaker, it sends you the sense of urgency. They are talking fast. Please, give me whatever you have, what you have, right? Without even mentioning the name, to say it was very fast. Fast conversation. Another explanation that I saw in that Mikra, it says, so we are going to see, even though it's a discussion, we are going to see that we are talking here about the holy bread that was served in Beit HaMikdash every Shabbat. That's the reason that I say on every Friday. That then I say that apparently it was on Shabbat. We're going to see that later. So how many bread were there? 12. Yeah. But from the 12, 5 were given to the Kohen Gadol. So David HaMelech says, maybe you give me your part. What do you have? Do you have your part of the bread, of the holy bread? Please give it to me. I forgot to mention before. So Nov was the Ir HaKohanim, the city of the Kohanim, meaning the city of the Beit Mikdash, of the temple, of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle. Even though, if you remember, the Aron Kodesh was in other place, in Kiryat Yarim, it's other place near Jerusalem, and so we have in the tabernacle all the other stuff which are not the main part, which is Aron Kodesh, the Ar. So we do have the Shulchan, the table with Lechem HaPanim, we do have the Menorah, and the Mizbeach HaKtoret, Mizbeach HaNechoshet. All those things are in Nov, the city of the Kohanim, and the Aron is in other place. Anyway, he asked, so what do you have? Any kind of bread? I need urgently supply. So the Kohen answered him, well, I have, but I cannot give it to you because it's holy. So the priest, or at least, he doesn't say so. Let's see. So he says, the priest answered David, I have no ordinary bread on hand. There is only consecrated bread, provided the young men have kept away from women. women. What does it mean? So I don't have a regular bread, I have a holy bread. And the holy bread cannot be eaten when a person is impure, meaning there are different kind of impurity, but after having a relationship, you have to go to the mikveh. Today, of course, we don't have that, but in the time of Bet HaMikdash, in order to be considered pure to eat these things, you have to be after the mikveh. So you say if you weren't with the women, so what boys is he speaking here? Young men. So David told him, I need the food for the young men that are waiting to me in such and such place. Okay, so for them, so he say, I cannot give you the bread unless you are pure. The question is here, of course, that halachically, even if you are pure, you are not allowed to eat this bread. Only the Kohanim are allowed to eat this bread. It's the same level as Truma, as Korban, which is not allowed. So the reason that, but it looks like the Kohen said, even though it's not allowed, I will give it to you. Why? Because it's pikuach nefesh. So David told him, it's apparently that Chachamim add, and the interpretations must be that no, it's me. That David told him, I need it as a pikuach nefesh. So we can see that pikuach nefesh is one of the first sources that for pikuach nefesh you can cancel mitzvot, certain mitzvot, right, apart from the three. So he told the Kohen say, okay, it's pikuach nefesh. So if it's pikuach nefesh, even if you are not pure, you are allowed to eat. It's pikuach nefesh. It's to save in life. So the Kohen say, at least try to make an effort not to eat that impure. And then I will give it to you. There are other explanations to that. The father of the Radak and the Ralbak say that this lechem kodesh, we are not talking about the lechem apanim, the bread that they were putting on the table every Friday. We are talking about lechmei todah. What is lechmei todah? There is korban todah, a sacrifice that was brought as an gratefulness for Hashem in certain occasions. And with this bread, with this korban, they used to make 40 breads. From these 40 breads, the Kohanim add their part. I think, if I'm not wrong, 10 of the bread, and the other 30 were allowed to other people. So maybe he's speaking about this lechem. So this bread is allowed for other people as long as they are pure. So this is exactly what he said to him. I can give it to you, but you must be pure in order to eat. So according to that, it's not pikuach nefesh. The problem with this explanation is the next verses that it looks like they're talking about lechem apanim, the bread of the korban. So anyway, it tells him, I can give it to you if you are pure. In reply to the priest, David says, I assure you that women have been kept from us as always. What does it mean as always? Always when we are going to a mission, and we are going to a battle or something like that, we are purifying ourselves and we are not being with a woman for the days before. It's between the lines, it looks like it was a practice. It's information that we didn't know from other places, that before going to a war, the people used to keep themselves pure, which is the opposite of what usually happened. Right? That would say that it's what our practice. We are not, when we are going to a mission, for a military mission, we are staying away from the women. We are keeping ourselves pure. Whenever I went on a mission, even if the journey was a common one, the vessels of the young men were consecrated. So also the vessels are pure. All the more than may consecrated food be put into the vessels today. So the priest gave him consecrated bread because there was none there except the bread of display, lechem apanim, which had been removed from God's presence to be replaced by warm bread as soon as it was taken away. So this is something that it's not, the translation here is explaining, it's not exactly the Hebrew. What it says here, so they used to take the bread away on Friday and put the new one. And it's, according to the translation, the new one was hot and fresh. And the old one, after a week, you know what's happened to a bread after a week, wasn't so fresh and hot. So it says, it looks like today they took away the bread because they have to eat the bread in the same day or the next day. So it should be Friday or Sunday. So according to that, we understand why is the explanation that it was, Friday or Saturday. That's why we must say that it was on Saturday. Okay, they took away the bread yesterday. They must have eaten it today. So we understand it was or that he arrived on Friday or that he arrived on Saturday. But the common explanation here, interpretation here, which in the Hebrew it's a little bit more, sounds more like that. Here the Tanakh is mentioned the miracle that was. The miracle was that they put the bread on Friday and it's kept fresh and hot during the whole week. And so they took him, lechem chom beyom yilakcho. They took him away, המוסרי מלפני השם לשום לחם חום ביום ילקחו. So it was taken, it was hot as in the same day that they put, ביום ילקחו, it's the day they took it, not the day they put it. Okay, so in the day they were taking the bread, it was hot as in the day that it was. So it was a miracle, one of the miracles in the temple.
In the first temple?
In the first temple, you're talking even before the first temple, tabernacle. Okay, so that's what he gave him. So the first help of Achimelech to David is giving him food. Chachamim said not only that it was pikuach nefesh, also achazo bolmus. Achazo bolmus, meaning it's some kind of a mood that you feel you must eat. If you're not eating, you are going to die. Some say that it's maybe like when the sugar is suddenly low, and then if you're not eating, you are fading. Or so he had bulmus. He needed urgently to eat. And then there is a verse that is very important for the continuation. Now, one of Shaul officials was there that day, detained before God. נעצר לפני השם. You should explain what does it mean. His name was Doeg, the Edomite. Shaul, chief herdsman. Herdsman meaning shepherd, right? Okay. So, why is it mentioned here suddenly? Oh, this is going to be the key to the understanding the next chapter. This person, which is mentioned in other places also, is a very, very complicated figure. Person. Why? First of all, let's start explaining the words. He is one of the officials of Shaul. Usually, we are talking about the officials of the king. We're not speaking about the one who was cleaning the house. Meaning the minister, one of the closest person of Shaul, and he is detained before Hashem. What does it mean, detained? So there are several explanations. We can say he was walking and then suddenly Shabbat arrived, so he just stayed. He was stopped, detained there. He wasn't meant to go to the palace or somewhere, and he couldn't continue, so he stayed there. But this is not the common explanation. The common explanation is that he was going there purposely to pray, to have some kind of worship. That's the reason people went to the temple, to bring sacrifice, to worship, to elevate himself, or in the Chachamim say to learn Torah. And this is connected to his name, first of all, Doeg, Edomi. Edomi, it's translated as Edomite, so he wasn't Jew. There are many drashot that say, no, so there are some people in the stories of David that are mentioned that they come from other countries, Ammoni, Moavi, Gitti, there are different places, and Chachamim usually say they lived there, they weren't from the nation. So he was a Jew that lived in Edom. That's what they call Edomite. Some others say that, and that's what Chachamim, there are Midrashim that says, no, that this is a symbolic name related to red, to blood, or to Esav,
because
to
he
murder.
caused a lot of bloodshed.
Yeah, it caused a bloodshed, or other way that I'm going to explain soon. And then we have his title, the chief herdsman. So what? He was responsible for the shepherds. We can say that as part of the property of the king, he had also a lot of flocks. So he had many shepherds, and was a minister of the shepherds. Part of the minister. It doesn't sound like a very important job. But Chachamim again explain that not in the simple understanding, not in the pshat. It says, what are the shepherds? The shepherds are, of course, the teachers, the spiritual leaders, the religion leaders. So he was Abir Aroim, the chief herdsman, meaning he was the head of the Sanhedrin. That was Chachamim said. So according to that, he was a great Talmid Chacham, and Chachamim mention in him, together with Achitophel, that we will meet in the next book, as one of the wisest people in history. And of course, wisest people in the kingdom of Shaul and the kingdom of David. So he was the genius of the generation. He knew a lot of Torah. He was Talmid Chacham, maybe the biggest Talmid Chacham in the generation, and he also was corrupted, which is a very, very dangerous combination. Okay, so this always the egg and the Achitophel are examples in Chachamim of wicked Talmidei Chachamim, people that know a lot of Torah, but it didn't penetrate to the character, and that this person used his wisdom for bad, and that is why it's mentioned here, as we're going to see. So, according, for example, to the word Edomi that I mentioned before, that there are other drashot. One of the drashot says that everybody that was trying to argue with him related to Divrei Torah was blushing from shame. It was embarrassing him. When you have a like the rap fights, when you, but no, in Divrei Torah, when you are, they were fighting in Divrei Torah, having a discussion in Divrei Torah, everybody was becoming red out of embarrassment because he was so smart, so wise, he could win every argument, every discussion. Okay, so this is mentioned in here, of course, as a sign of warning, alarm. This person is there, it's meaning trouble. Okay, but now we are leaving him there and continuing with the conversation between David and Achimelech. So David keep lying. David say to Achimelech, haven't you got a spear or sword on hand? I didn't take my sword or any of my weapons with me because the king's mission was urgent. So it's a little bit story, a little bit suspicious, right? How long does it take to take a sword? So maybe you are going in the palace, you are going unarmed because nobody's going armed in the palace. So the king sends him, apart from the king with the spear, right?
Right. He was dodging.
Yeah, so the king can. So yeah, but it makes sense that you don't go in with swords in the palace. And then the king said immediately go away, so he didn't even have time to go to his house to take the sword. Maybe. So he told him, I need a sword. The priest said there is a sword of Goliath, the Plishtim, whom you slew in the valley of Elah, Emek Elah. It is over there, wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. Why? The sword of Goliath is with the priest and near the ephod. So they used to take sometimes objects, symbolic objects, to put them as memory in the tabernacle to remind the miracle. We know, for example, there was a jar of man there, was kept there, and the stick of Aaron, that the what?
The snake.
Not the one that became snake, but it's when he had flowers. In the discussion with Korach, it had flowers, so it was kept there also as a sign of a miracle. So apparently, if you remember that we learned the story of Goliath, it says that he took the sword to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And we said Jerusalem is not in the hands of David yet. What does it mean? No, later. So later he took it to Jerusalem as a symbol also. So after the war of Goliath, he took her to the tabernacle as a sign of remembrance of the. But the Kohanim, again, it's a holy place, a religious place. There's no swords over there. So Chimera said, we don't have swords, we don't have weapon with us. It's a synagogue here, it's a tabernacle here. We have only one sword, which is a memorial sword, the sword that is a sign of the miracle, as a memory of the miracle. You can take it if you want. So if you want to take that one, take it, for there is none there here but that one. So also here, it's a little bit strange, but maybe symbolic. Remember when David went to the battle against Goliath, they said he was too small to hold the sword of Shaul. And he couldn't take the arms, the armor of Shaul because he was too weak. Now Goliath was a little bit bigger than Shaul. So we can guess that the sword of Goliath was huge, heavy. It wasn't sword, it was a spear, something big. And now David is taking it. So apparently he went a lot to the gym. He was much, much stronger after maybe he grew up, he was young and then he grew up, he was stronger. But it's also symbolized a little bit that David is trusting too much human means and not so much as it was needed to trust God. So he's lying, is eating the holy bread, is taking the sword. It looks like he's not trusting Hashem so much. This is at least one reading of it. Again, that a reading that I don't like. We don't see the Chachamim that criticizing David for that. The reason the Chachamim criticizing David for lying and criticizing David for putting in danger the city of the Kohanim, and David himself, it looks like he felt guilty. We're going to see in the next chapter that he felt guilty for what's happened. At least in the part of taking the sword, I didn't see any critics in the words of Chachamim. Anyway, he offers him this sword, and David says, there is none like it. Give it to me. So in that day, David continued on his flight from Shaul, and he came to King Achish of Gath. Looked like huge mistake. Where are you going? To the Plishtim. Achish is the king of the Plishtim. Now, who came from Gath? Goliath. David killed Goliath. David had fights against the Plishtim several times. It says that David had big victories against the Plishtim. So you are going directly to the hands of your enemies. Why are you going there? So maybe he hoped that nobody will recognize him. We will see that later. Maybe also, sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend. So you're going, I'm not with Shaul anymore, so I will go to the enemies of Shaul. And again, maybe the simple answer, it was in his way. So he went from Giv'ah, north to Jerusalem, went south to Nov. And then he continued south and trying to go to the desert. In the middle, there is Gath. Gath is in the middle of the way to the Negev. So maybe this is the place where you can go and hang around a little bit, have a little bit of more supply. We don't know how many days it take, or maybe the same day, maybe after. But he arrived directly, how do you say, to the mouth of the lion.
The Plishtim.
Yeah, to the Plishtim. So he was recognized. Think about the past. It was hard to recognize famous people. You may heard about the king, you won't know him. There's no papers, there's no television. Nobody knows how people looks like. But maybe David was famous enough, and maybe there were people in the battle of David and Goliath that saw David in the battle, the same people from God. Chachamim in the Midrash say that Hashem told David, where are you going? The brothers of Goliath are the head guards. You say bodyguards? Bodyguards of the king. You are going directly to the hands of the brothers of Goliath. So David was recognized. The courtiers of Achish say to him, why? That's David, king of the land. He wasn't a king, but he was a ruler. The power was in his hand. That's the one of whom they sing and they dance. Shaul has slain his thousands, David is tens of thousands.
He took the sword, they saw the sword. They could recognize
He
him.
was with the sword. Yeah, he's going with the sword of the brother.
All the evidence.
These words worried David. Well, there's a reason. It doesn't say in Hebrew worry. It says, Vayasem David et advarim ha'ele bilvavo. He puts these words on his heart, reflected about them. Again, it's not the right terms. He was reflected about the fact that they want to kill him. But what is it? He was reflecting. Put the words in his heart. And again, I saw interpretations that may be right. He thought about, well, this is a punishment for my actions in the former station of my flight. The fact that he was reflecting about all what's going on. And then he understood me trusting too much, like we say, human beings, it wasn't the right way to deal with it. And he became very much afraid of King Achish of Gath. We are getting close to the end of the class. There are something, just see, his solution in that was, so he concealed, let's read until the end and we will talk a little bit more next time. So he concealed his good sense from them. He feigned madness for the benefit. The benefit, again, we will see about that. He scratched marks on the doors of the gate and let his saliva run down his bread. So what does it mean? He became crazy, made himself as he became crazy. So crazy people are not harmful. I would say that it looks like they were caught him and brought him to the king, and then he became like crazy. Now there are two things here. First of all, he's not harmful if he's crazy. Second, is it really David? As we saw, we don't know very well the face. Maybe it looks similar. Maybe you saw that in the battle 5 years ago. Who'll say it's the same person? Also, apparently, in the ancient times, crazy people were considered a little bit holy also. It was a thin line between crazy and prophet.
Yeah.
And sometimes people cross the line from side to side. What? Shaul. Yeah, like we said about Shaul, crazy and prophecy. And also, they consider there is bad demon inside them. So there's like angels inside them. So it was considered dangerous and even prohibited to harm crazy people. So making yourself crazy was sometimes a way to save yourself. So that's what David did, and it worked. And he said to his coteries, "You see, the man is raving. Why bring him to me? Do I like madmen? חסר משוגעים אני?" Chachamim said his wife and his daughter were also mad in this time. Okay, we'll see about that. Do I like madmen that you have brought his one to the rave for me? Should he enter my house? And that how they send him away. So it says the next chapter, in the beginning of the next chapter, so David went from there to Mitzpeh of Moab, meaning crossing the border, crossing the Jordan to the other side of the Jordan. Okay, we will see. So we will talk a little bit about the second episode of the chapter, B'ezrat Hashem, in the next class.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.